yourself, let's give ourselves a chance to adjust to the frequencies, to the new energies, and understand that it is a massive recalibration. And recalibration affects every system, every organ, every cell of your body. And not just in this reality, but you're also doing a quantum shift in all your other realities, all other dimensions, all other aspects of you in the universe are all participating in this part of the process. So it's like, you may think that, you know, you as a tiny little pebble in the cosmic pond are not making waves, but every time you shift your consciousness, your awareness, the more you open your heart, the more you contribute to the blessing of healing, the more it ripples through the cosmos. So it's taking a moment and just realizing that that's a lot going on. And if you can just simply hold within your heart and within your focus, everything's working. No, I don't know the details. No, I have no idea which direction it's going to go, which end is up, which end is down. And matter of fact, most days, it's some of all of it. It's just recognizing that everything's working, and allow yourself to align your heart to the concept of, I wouldn't be here if I couldn't do it. And right now, today, in this moment, in this breath, this is what doing it feels like. This is what doing it looks like. Just showing up, just being present in the dance that's taking place in the world as it is evolving and changing. What we are able to see on the level that we are now frequently flying at is we become observers of the process and less entangled in it. So that's going to be vitally important. The other key on the solstice level, and I know there's a lot of celebrations going on today, and I do want to acknowledge that, you know, Mother Nature is such an important part of this whole process. It's just a matter of really honoring that we are doing the best we can to reconnect to our human nature, our Mother Nature, our divine nature, our cosmic nature. That's a lot to bring into harmony all at once. But the good news is, team, we're doing it, and we're making a significant impact, and we are shifting reality. We're all participating at that level. And yeah, it's been hard work. Nobody's had a shortcut, and nobody's had it easy. So we really need to just be gentle with ourselves and compassionate with each other as things look to be one thing and turn into something different. Or we aim in a direction and we find out that the opposite is where we needed to be, or it's a full circle and we got there that way anyway. So yeah, solstice is an alignment that takes place in the highest form of light, our longest day, our longest exposure to the sun. And right now the sun is sending massive signals and flares and energy in our direction to benefit and bless us. Yeah, it's causing some chaos, but you know what? It needed to. We needed a good shakeup. We needed a sifting through. We needed all the things that are happening right now, because that is what is helping us wake up and do what needs to be done in order for us to facilitate a higher frequency and vibration. So the key that was given to me at this point as a message is that the very, very seed of focus right now is the difference. And up until now, when you look at the difference in the world, that has been the source of wars. It's been the source of judgment. It's been the source of fear. We have been so terrified and shaken to our core because things are different. We're different. We look different. We're different genders. We're different cultures. We're different religions. We're different, all the way down the line. When we learn to honor and respect the differences, we will have dismantled the matrix. That's how powerful and simple it is at the same time. Dare to be different, love the difference that you are, and love it in each other. Love the difference in nature right now. Yeah, she's on a rampage. It's like Mother Nature's off her meds. It's okay. She's just reflecting us in the same way we are recalibrating and changing and shifting and doing all of that. there's a lot of what has been in the past as a historical blueprint that we have all been holding on to with everything we've got that is being destroyed. It's dying. And we need to celebrate the passing and look at it as, in order for the caterpillar to become the butterfly, it has to change. But in order to change, that caterpillar and what it looks like has to change in a way that that part of it dies. But what emerges is something extraordinary and beautiful. So this is the two sides of death. And as we witness more and more this process going on, the difference between the old human way of judgment and fear and the new human way of being an observer that is filled with such faith, faith in humanity, faith in nature, faith in the galactic community that we all belong to, in faith in the universe that it actually does know what it's doing. It may not know what it's going to look like until we get there, but the process itself is something that is extraordinary. And to be a part of that is really and genuinely a privilege. So, you know, cheers to Mother Nature today and all that she's doing. And also gratitude and thankfulness to the galactic energies that we're all a part of in that community. And how beautiful it is to know that the transformation that is taking place has been planned for millenniums, virtually since time began. And to be a part of it right now, right here in these moments is really a special, special thing to be a part of. So yay to Mother Nature. Okay, so I'm going to go through a little bit. Our topic tonight is grief and loss, which is a big part of what's going on right now. Some of it to the degree where, yes, people are leaving the planet, but we need to see that instead of grieving it as a sad thing, we need to be able to witness it and observe it as it's a graduation. Those that are leaving the planet in whatever way, whether it's through the vaccination system, whether it's through just being out of alignment with the new frequencies and the new vibration, whatever their exit choice is, we need to be able to celebrate that for them as a graduation and allow some of the pain of letting go shift to being able to look at it and say, well done. You know, whatever your contract was, whatever your commitment was, whatever your agreement was, you did it. You did it until you couldn't do it any longer. And in that, there is truly a graduation. Karma is finished. And it really doesn't matter right now, which is kind of awesome. It doesn't matter how you exit the karma game, as long as you do. That is, you know, like training for a race for, you know, millenniums and getting to the finish line and going, nah, I changed my mind. Nah, I don't think so. No, I can live with karma forever. No biggie. I don't think anybody in their right mind is going to do that right now. We may be exhausted. We may be out of breath. We may be, you know, totally in a delusionary state in our exhaustion. But the good news is we have completed our karma and the game is over. So honoring the differences and respecting the differences in each other and how that is achieved and what it looks like is very important to our ability to be unconditionally loving, both of ourselves and each other. There's no right or wrong way to do this part. But this part is really, really special. So good for everybody showing up. Okay, so I'm going to, how many would prefer that I put it and did a screen share for the chart? It's fairly extensive, but for you visual people, would you like the chart? Okay, let me do a screen share then. Okay. Now, is everybody able to see that? Do you want it a little bigger? Little
Bigger.
Bigger than that? Okay.
It's quite
You're
small.
on your phone. This is going to be a squinter. So, yeah. Grief and loss has many, many aspects to it, and it is definitely part of the karmic circle, the cycle of life, the very essence of us in our transformational opportunities and changes. So we know that, I believe we're going to go from left to right on these, but probably right up there with the most painful part of grief and loss is the loss of a child. We know that that is just heart-wrenching, and it's something that every parent fears, and really, you know, sort of dreads the idea of it. And anyone that has experienced it can tell you that it's something that they carry for the rest of their life, and probably from life to life. The loss of family members, we know that that's a natural part of life and the cycles of life. We come, we're born into this world, and eventually we depart this world. And the idea is that we try and leave something in our path and in our story that is a legacy that others do remember, and that our generation after generation can at least go back and look at the role that you might have played or the space you occupied. Sometimes, you know what, you're the villain in the story. Sometimes you're the victory in the story. Sometimes you're just the, you know, the volunteer of something that needed to happen with everybody else. But the good news is, if you played your role, again, at the end of it, there is a graduation, and nobody really knows when that will happen. It can happen at a young age, a middle age, or an older age. Your agreement, your graduation can happen at any point. Loss of a partner. We know that having a partner in your life is something that a lot of us probably take for granted. But when you look at not having a partner or having lost a partner, there's a deep space and a place that they occupied in your world that all of a sudden leaves an emptiness that nothing or no one can fill. Their uniqueness, their bright light, whatever role they played in your partnership was significant enough that you invited them in. You invited them before you even came to the planet, and certainly spending time with them left a significant impact in how you interact and relate to a partner. Loss of a friend can create grief. We have cycles of friendships and relationships that come. Some people come for a short time, some people come for a long time, some people come for a lifetime. But inevitably, at some point, there is a graduation. And when they pass over or where they're gone, it doesn't really matter how that happens. The place in your heart and the space within your being that is used to having them to celebrate or to resonate with, all of a sudden becomes vacant. And that can be very stressful and a challenging time. So not to diminish it, but I know one of the other hard things is when we have a loss of a pet. For those of us who enjoy animals, they become a part of the family. Literally, we bring them in, and sometimes I think we treat them better than family because they treat us better than family. So the relationship that we have with a pet can be just as deep and intimate and special as having it with another human being. And unfortunately, with animals in our span of a lifetime, we have many, many times when a pet has to leave us, and going through that over and over again, it all adds up. So you can see, you know, some of us will have a few of these going on. Some of us have more than a few going on. Some of us may have all of this going on. And when you look at the energy that can happen in the grieving process when it is not completed or it is not honored and cherished at the level that it is meant to be, it can be really devastating and make life more challenging than it should be, and your happiness is affected profoundly. So loss of possessions, we all know that having things is a privilege, and we do live in a privileged country. A lot of what we have, there are plenty of people in the world that don't have a fraction of what we have, and yet they seem to find a way to live and be happy. But in that moment, when something that you really cherish or worked hard for, when it's taken away or it's lost, that grief that remains and occupies that space is intense. I know for my husband and I, in one day, with one notification, we lost our business, our jobs, our home, and our inheritance, all in one day. So it took a long time, and believe it or not, that's when I got real raw and real with God. What God? If there was a God, this would not be happening. The anger and the rage that in that loss was profound for me, but instead of actually processing it when it first happened, I went into shutdown and isolation. So that is very unhealthy, and it's not not a good place to stay. You can learn lots about yourself in that place, and ultimately you learn lots about God or the creator or whatever energy you want to call to the source of your creation. A lot happens in that, and it happens at a very deep level and in a very dark time in your world. So the simple loss of something that you worked hard for can be enough to tip you into your awakening. Let's just put it that way. The gift, the graduation. What seemed to be something that was horrific turned into be one of the best things that ever happened to me. So loss of identity, and this is where Helen's going to come in. She's going to discuss the different ways of our identity and our sense of who we are, our connection to who we are, our relationship with who we are. And most evolved souls have come to the place where they do actually have a relationship with yourself. You've gotten to know yourself. You've recognized the way you handle things or don't handle things, the way you feel about life and the way you struggle in life, the way you shut down, or the way you open yourself up to new and wondrous things. That's all part of your identity. But there are things in life that can, let's call it interrupt. I don't think anything can truly take away our identity, but there is a definite energy of loss that comes with a change of identity. And as we move towards this whole concept of the medbed experience, the identity that we have had up until now is about to dramatically change should we choose it. We don't have to choose it. We can stay exactly the way we are. We can, maintain whatever it is that you have manifested for yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally. That is your free will choice. But for those who are choosing to restore or regenerate and even rejuvenate the self in ways that make life more livable, more enjoyable, more endurable, for those who make those choices and changes, there's going to be a big moment where things inside and how you see yourself is going to change. So the grieving process itself is done very differently. Again, male and female aspects of self have their own way of handling the grief and loss process. Initially, there's a shock. The male side of us will go into anger and aggression. The female side tends to go numb and just avoids. She does shut down. Can't handle it. I'm done. I can't do this. And that's her way of coping. That's her way of surviving. We can also go into a denial state where you're avoiding what happened, or you're in defiance of what happened. The female goes into pretending it didn't happen or withdrawing from what happened. So that again, there's this sense of one comes forward and tries to, tough it out. That's the male. And the female withdraws and tries to nurture it, hold on to it, maybe process it differently. So with depression, the male can go into obsessive compulsive. He will look for ways to numb the feelings. Can't handle it, don't want it, can't deal with it. Whereas the female side of us may go into sadness and overwhelmed. She just doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know how to cope. And then another factor in the grieving process is loneliness. The male handles loneliness by going into overwork and overdo. He just keeps himself so busy and so active that there is no time to relate to, think about, stop, and let the feelings that are building up inside have any effect. Whereas the female, she will go into isolation and exclusion. She basically will isolate herself into a state and a place where she's coping with everything internally, personally, quietly, introvertly, and that does create ultimately a state of loneliness. So it would seem that this is an intense subject that we're with tonight, but again, I want us to be able to embrace it energetically or vibrationally as a form of graduation. And in that, each of us will deal with that slightly different. It may ease some of the feelings that are present. It may push you forward into a more prominent role or into a less isolated state. Anything can happen, and it is up to you as an individual, as a free-spirited soul and free will, to choose what you want to do and how you want to proceed with it. There's no going back and changing what happened, but there is a very real empowered state that you can carry forward with you to be different in the future by being aware of it today. So I think that's enough on that subject. So I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to turn it over to Helen so that she can share with typical Helen flair and form a way of bridging that gap between those that are here that we see and know and touch and feel, and those that are not here, those of our family, our friends, those that have passed on, that are still very present in our world. We can't see them, but it doesn't mean they're not there. So I'm going to let Helen share her wisdom and her wit as she approaches the subject and is able to share some of what she has learned in her journey as a very experienced medium that communicates both sides. So go ahead, Helen. I'll let you introduce yourself and whatever you feel is relevant to people that's comfortable for you, and will bring comfort to them. Go ahead.
Well, you segued it right perfectly in regards when you said about the loss of loved ones and how they want us to celebrate their departure. A lot of people think that we should be grieving, that we shouldn't be happy for them. Like, not happy for them, but we shouldn't be happy. We shouldn't be joyful. We shouldn't be celebrating. We shouldn't be singing. We shouldn't be dancing, when that's the complete opposite. That's what they want for you, to celebrate them. Like, and if, I like how you say graduate, because I say that all the time. Yep, they've just graduated. They're in a great place, partying it up. They don't want to be here, right? And they're just in a higher dimension. So, actually, Donna, you covered quite a bit. Regarding the loss of identity and pertaining that to med beds, one thing to keep in mind too is that it's not just the body image, it's the person that who you are, and letting go of the ego of who you are. If that makes any sense. You're going to hear me say that quite often, if that makes any sense. Especially the body image, letting go. Could you detach from being a mom? Could you detach from being a spouse? Could you detach from being a healer? Can you let go of those identities? Because that also may change going into a med bed. Going into a med bed and preparing for it is basically kind of like saying, okay, well, I want to lose the weight. I want to look a little sexier. Whatever that is. We still don't know exactly what that's going to entail, but keeping in mind too, when I look at the before and after of going into a med bed, the best metaphor, and I mentioned this to Donna and she agreed, is if you think of the movie Avatar, the essence of Jake is who he is when he goes into the other world, right? So before he goes into the med bed, he's in this human form. Then he comes out, well, med bed, whatever you want to call it. But when he steps into his avatar, he's got this new body, but it's still the essence of who he is in the inside, but he's got to get used to this new body. So imagine someone wants to go into the med bed and become this whole new person on a physical level, but is it the same essence of him in that same body? And may he miss that old person, that old version, the comfort level that he's in. So if you're used to playing the victim and all of a sudden you come out of that and come away from being the victimhood, then all of a sudden you may fall back into, oh, I kind of miss being the victim, or I kind of miss being talked to this way. Does everyone understand what I mean by that? Right? So it's getting used to the new you, but missing the old you. So that's why I like to use the Avatar movie. Has anybody here not seen the Avatar? Because it's not going to make sense if you haven't seen the movie Avatar. Has everyone seen that? I forgot everybody's on mute. All right. Yeah. So to me, what's important too is discovering who you are, finding out who you are as a human. What is your identity? What do you associate yourself to? If you could name all your titles, right? And moving forward, one of the people that I follow, that's one of the things that she says is, can you let go of your identity? How important is it for everyone to like you? How important is it to you to have likes and followers? How important is it for you to maintain that title that you hold as a mom, as a spouse, as a pet owner? Would you be willing to lose all of that by losing your identity? I'm hoping that I'm making sense in this. So the question is, how attached are you to your own vessel on a physical level? How attached are you to your essence of who you are? And how much of that would you want to change? And could you handle the change? Could you handle stepping outside of your comfort zone? Because there's a lot of people are going to come into this idea of becoming a whole brand new person. So if anyone lost a limb, how are they going to get used to having a limb? So that's why the post part of the med bed is important. So us as facilitators is, how can we make this person who's going to go into the med bed feel good about this new person that they are actually becoming, between the physical and the internal, the emotional and the external? Donna, you could step in anytime.
I think you're doing beautiful, Helen.
Okay.
It's really challenging to really accept that we will be different enough that we may or may not recognize ourselves.
And to embrace the newness of you, though.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But it's stepping outside of the comfort zone. Are you willing to step out your comfort zone and leave the old you behind, even though it may not be the positive new you, the victim, or the abuser or addiction? Can you handle that? Will that person be ready to become that new person? So that's what I'm saying is, we got to learn, or we got to teach them or prepare them before they go into that med bed. I think I just trying to think if there's anything more to add on to that.
I think there's a similar process that we will go through where,
well, that's part of the grieving.
There's a sense of disorientation, and grief will be the closest thing that we can identify with.
Yeah.
That is a feeling, and the depth of that feeling is intense. So I think what Source is trying to help everyone understand is that when we do the transition, we have to be prepared for the feelings that can come initially.
Which is loss.
It is a form of loss. And again, preparing us by saying, are you at a place spiritually where you can still honor the difference and love it
and loving yourself? But here's the thing, is to be in alignment is loving yourself right now.
Yes.
Right? If you go in with all this negativity, I hate this about myself, I dislike this about myself, then you're not in alignment for what you're about to become. Right? It's finding the alignment to that, if that makes any sense. I was sharing this with Donna, and that is, I am grieving my family unit. I'm grieving not being a wife. I am grieving how my body image was at 2019. I fucking rocked it. Excuse me, French. Right? And then during COVID, I got COVID weight, and I wasn't able to get how I looked at 2019. So I'm fighting that. So there I have lost my identity of those. And I didn't realize how important that was to me until I lost them all. Right? And so now I am learning to embrace who I am now. So it's kind of like I should be thrown in a med bed. I want to become a wife. Oh, do you think that could happen? I want to become a wife. No, I'm just, come on, I'm throwing some humor out there. This can't be a serious subject. But you see where I'm going? That's where I am right now, is the loss of identity of my past for that. But also embracing my freedom, my independence. So it's the new me missing the old me at the same time. So it's like a tug of war a little bit. So that's what I am battling in for. That's my grief. That's my loss, the loss of a partnership, longtime partnership. Right. But I'm also excited of, I know he's out there waiting for me. He's in for a big surprise. But that's what I anticipate, is he's there waiting, right? It's the unknown. And that's what this medbed's going to be like, is embracing the unknown. We have no idea exactly how it's going to turn out, but we're going to be the first guinea pigs.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of hard to tap into the subject of the before and after. We can talk about the before, but it's kind of a little bit challenging to discuss what it'd be like afterwards, because we don't really know anyone who's actually done that. Like, because we all want the quick fix, but this is not the quick fix. It's discovering who you are now, embracing who you are now, and being prepared to lose who you are. But again, everyone's going to be different, though. It depends on what they want.
Mhm. Yeah.
So here's a question. Is there anyone here? I don't know if anybody's asked this question, Donna, through this group. Is there anyone here that has no interest of going in a med bed chamber? Is there anyone here that does not want to? Bingo.
I have a question.
For me or Donna?
It doesn't matter. So you said something about essence, right? So has either of you heard that the med beds can actually, because I equate as essence to someone's signature.
Soul. It's your
Their
soul.
soul.
It's just
Right.
that's who you are, is your soul. So even when we transition, who do you think I connect with? The essence
Right, but I'm
of
asking,
the loved one.
I'm asking, have you heard whether or not the med beds can actually change someone's essence?
Mm,
Because that will not change, right?
I don't believe so.
physical-
I don't think you can play with that. I really
Right.
don't.
Okay,
I don't.
You would
That's
have-
my.
You would have
That's
to agree to it. You would have to specifically request that. And yes, genetic alterations can be done if you request it. But as a general rule, as part of the medbed experience, that is not something that they would entertain.
okay. That's what I was unclear about. Thank
that's
you.
a very
There will-
good
yeah.
question.
There will be some genetic corrections being done for
Mhm.
those that are, example would be Down syndrome, or anyone that is prone to hereditary diseases. There is going to be some genetic corrections being made, but they will enhance the essence of who you are and not diminish or deplete. So
Okay.
in those regards, there will be exceptions to the rule, and that will all be factored in. But at soul level, your free will and the essence of who you are, your signature as a human being and
Yeah.
a divine being, is always under the free will directive. Nothing can be done without your permission or request. So to me, that's the safeguard that does happen, because people can be quite creative. I was going to say ingenious, but I don't know that it qualifies under that category, about changing things, thinking that it would be cool or it would be different in a fun way. But the quantum system is very much geared towards who you were in the past, who you are now, and who you are in the future. Quantum already sees your future. So
Mhm.
if in any way what you are deciding today would not enhance your future, it would not be incorporated into the treatment. So that's where I feel people will be comforted to some degree, that there's no chance of coming out unrecognizable. That's not going to happen.
What about in the case of addiction?
Again, addictions are under the category of emotional behavior. So it's going to be a part of what they will do is they will go in and correct the damage that addiction has done.
Mhm.
But the actual challenge that comes with it, the human experience that has manifested it, will still need to be addressed on the conscious level. So it's not that our growth is going to stop. We're in a perfect state. We're all sitting like, yogis on the cloud forever and ever, amen. That's not it. This is just giving us a restart with a conscious awareness of, because we have been through all of these variable lifetimes and experiences, we now have a greater sense of what feels genuine to me, what fits me as a person, what are my goals, what are my dreams, what are my visions for my potential being experienced and lived out. So it is challenging a soul to get real. Addictions are very much an emotional game that is played within the self to keep us from facing things that we don't want to face or we don't want to feel. In our male aspect, we do not want to face it. And in the female aspect, we do not want to feel it. So addictions are set up for us to use as an escape or an avoidance program that will be part of the work that we are involved with and prepare them. Knowing someone is in a highly addictive state, which my understanding is it will be a separate facility. And from that facility, we will be able to invite or bring forward the graduates, the ones who have had the courage to face their addictions, because there's no point in changing everything if they're just going to go back and do what they've done. So that's part of the incentive for them to break the habit or to clear. And you know what? Every single one of us have at least one, if not many, addictions. So it's not about looking and say, well, I don't drink alcohol and I don't do drugs and, I don't go to the racetrack, so I'm good. Yeah, well, check in the inside on the emotional state and see, how quick we are to avoid certain things that we don't like or we're uncomfortable with. Because what you do in those moments is just as much of an addiction. You may not be drinking it, you may not be eating it, but guaranteed.
I was going to say something, but I'm going to stay clean.
You don't have to, Helen. There are many addictions.
There was another thought too, is the integration part is this new person that you may become is also, the family is going to also miss the old person. So we're going to have to do the integration where you bring the family in, working with the loss of the old person.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, it's nothing like my 50-year-old son walking in the door to his 30-year-old mom. Hey, how's it going?
yeah, well, that will
so much
be
better
a
now.
shock. That's what I'm saying. So there's going to be some dynamics where the family's is going to have to learn, or not learn, but help. What's the word I'm looking for?
There is a support system that is required, and that is also very clearly put into the documentation of a medbed experience, where you must have a support system.
You have to, like,
that is available to you after the fact, and no different than addictions.
Yeah.
They cannot be released until they have a support system that encourages them, helps them, inspires them, and keeps them real.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's many ways that this can change your life and your dynamics. So Helen, maybe you could answer some questions that people might have about individual ideas of, I know probably most of you have not sat down and had a little conversation with yourself. So what changes will I request, or what transformation am I looking for? What does it mean to me? And if you haven't done that, I really challenge you to start to do that.
I think,
Because
is there a checklist kind of like people could read off of, or, because I'm sure there's some things that you wouldn't think of until you see that checklist. It's like, oh, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Do we have anything like that, or is that something that we should consider?
I believe that in the questions that we go through in the final stages, a lot of that is answered, but it's based on how you have settled into your frequency in your graduated state, not the broken pieces that you see now. So in other words, what you would expect of yourself before you go into our healing sessions and our healing journey and some of the help that's available, you would have a different list than you might have a week before your medbed experience.
Mhm.
I think that is something that is in the final state of preparation so that you are able to determine for yourself what you genuinely resonate with. You'll start out with wishful thinking. You'll start out with a big list of, all kinds of ideas. But I believe by the time you go through the process of really getting to know yourself and be in alignment with your purpose here, who you really are, that your list will be different.
Mhm.
So again, it's just leaving space open for that.
Any questions? Dennis,
Let me
beautiful
unmute you.
Dennis, the bridge.
You were bridging us.
I was bridging both magical words together.
Awesome. So my question would be, it was my understanding, and maybe I perceived this wrong, that we would have an assessment in a type of quantum technology that would identify what might benefit us that we aren't aware of.
Yes.
And is it then that we would need to agree to that? Or I know, and one of the things that sticks in the back of my head was one of Sky's from her Q&A, somebody asked, are there any dangers to using the med beds? And one of her replies was, it's addictive for plastic type surgery replacement.
Yeah.
I don't know if that doesn't settle, that doesn't resonate
Doesn't sit right.
with me. I mean, yeah, I'd like these to be a little higher and tighter, and
I think that would fall into like if there's burns, scars, things like that. But are you talking like augmentation and things like that?
when she was talking about it, they're saying you could change your hair color, the thickness of your hair, the color of your eye.
Like it's almost too good to be true, to be honest. Like it is. It's like we can't fathom that and trying to
So-
step into that
and
5D,
when we talk
6D.
when we talk of loss of identity,
Yeah.
is the grass always greener on the other side until we get there? Or, as you said, come into alignment with who I am as I am now? And is it up to us to decide, okay, well, regardless of what, this is what I want, and is that what we get? Or is it, this is what's recommended and this is what you're getting?
Or do you get it and then have it for a little while and then go back and change it again? I decided to be a brunette now and I want to be flat. Do you have that option, Donna? Is there an
Anything is possible, but you have to remember that in the quantum field, the consciousness and awareness is the greatest and most enhanced version of you in your natural state. Your personality needs to remain the same. The essence of
Yes.
who you are needs to remain the same. That is all factored in.
Right.
When people are in this place of, again, judging the difference, then that's not an energy that they are going to want to enhance. So in other words, if you're judging your body for the way it looks, that affects your sex appeal. If that's really important to you, they will change that, but they will also factor in, will that change actually enhance you, or will it make it so that you don't feel like yourself anymore? Remember,
Right, which is the
quantum
loss.
has the future version of what happens after it's done. The
So brilliant.
variables happen right up to the moment they are working on you. So it really is, I know for myself, my trust in my heart will be to say, these are the things that I want to enjoy in my life. These are the things I want to be able to do. And this is the part of my physical being that is required for me to comfortably experience this in the best way possible. Do what you need to do.
Right.
I'm not going in with the idea of, I want this over here and that over there and this don't. It's like, no,
Right.
I want to trust the quantum system to put me into an enhanced state that I can live with
Mhm,
and
mhm.
I can enjoy life with. And whatever form that takes, I trust that it is perfect for that moment. Now, my understanding is that you can have this procedure done up to 3 times.
That's the question I
After
was gonna
3 times,
ask.
it's harder for them to get the frequencies to hold.
Yeah.
So it's not like if you go in this time, you're like, oh, darn, I should have had that done. It doesn't mean you can't have it done, but it does mean that you need to be able to live with yourself, your body, your being, your experience in step 1 and know that it feels right for you.
So Donna, it was to my understanding that that was only for the age regression. From what Sky was saying, they abuse, like it, and they're constantly thrown back into the bed and back into the bed. She says they're treated like a number.
Okay,
And there's many,
she's referring to the military application.
right.
Where they were actually refitting warriors as fast as they could to do a job that needed to be done, and it didn't really incorporate. Let's just say a personality wasn't necessary, as
No,
long
it
as
was
you
just
could do the job.
scars and injuries and
Yeah.
go back into battle.
Exactly, that was the military application. The actual application that they are speaking of now has more to do with creating a balanced being,
Okay.
where we are able to not only enjoy life, but to integrate in harmony with where we are and what we're here to do. So in other words, for myself, with my weight the way it is extremely difficult for me to be able to move around and do the things that I need to do energetically. It's very taxing for me. So my prayer is that I can wake up from that experience having more than enough energy for the day and my body will keep up. To me, that's a miracle in itself. And whatever needs to happen for that to be facilitated is going to be a real blessing for me.
And the overflow of being able to pass that forward.
Exactly.
Serving
Exactly.
human.
So what I share from there is an enhancement of what I'm already doing. So I'm no longer just sitting here teaching and telling. I'm out integrating into community, being and doing. That's what I miss. So the old aspect of me in that regard would be I'm extremely limited by what I've created for my body and my being, moving into an unlimited state. That's a big transition in itself.
And of course, all the preparations that we're doing prior to anything that the med beds do is also preparing us to handle what we're going to be seeing as we deal with the public healing.
Absolutely. We are going to be able to experience things in a way that helps us have a greater understanding and compassion for people coming up to their moment. Because we will have been through it, we'll have experienced it. There will be some things that we were told or expected, but I trust that there will be far more things that we have not expected that will come on the other side of it, that we will bring forward as our wisdom and ability to share that with others, to say, you need to consider this may factor in, or that may be a part of what you will experience. Not to say it absolutely will, but to be able to share honestly with people the possibilities from every perspective. I think that that's the gift that we are being given, that we will share.
A product of the product.
Yep. Yeah. And there are some who will say, you know what, we are actually designed and created to do this for ourselves. And I would say maybe a generation from now, that is the way it will be done. people will be so consciously evolved and enhanced with everything that has been happening in the new world and in heaven on earth reality, that they will be able to self-correct. And that's a beautiful thing. But we haven't got to that place yet, and we haven't had the experience to co-create on that level yet. Not in this realm anyway. We've all been doing this in other galaxies and other planets and other places. That's why they call us special forces. We've already done all of this. We just haven't done it here. And when we're under the full, you know, you talk about an NDA, we don't remember any of it. It's kind of hard to recall it and experience it on the fullest level we're capable of. So yeah, go ahead. Anybody else have a question for Helen?
I'm that good. You got no questions. No, you did most of it, Donna.
No, actually, I think you.
Well, no,
really-
a lot was explained in the chart, which is basically,
Yeah.
you know, that's loss of pet, loss of partner, loss of a loved one, loss of homes. I remember when that's one thing I miss. I miss my marital home,
Mhm.
you know, beautiful home. I miss it. So, but I look at where I'm at now.
Mhm.
So,
So I think part of what we need to really respect is that everyone is going to have their own perception and their own perspective on what needs to be done. But I do encourage you to begin to play with the idea and approach it from that, because it's not written in stone. I mean, right up to the minute when your little toes touch the bottom of the bed, things can change. So it's a playing with the idea of, well, if I could change one thing about myself, what is the most important thing that I would change? And start there. Because sometimes just shifting the most important part, all of a sudden everything else relating to it or limited by it is no longer an issue. It's like, I have no intentions of going back and being 28. Thank you very much. It's not, to me, that's not something that I personally feel is part of my sense of who I am and the essence of what I can achieve. I'm quite happy being the, you know, healthy, well-balanced 40-year-old. And that for me seems to be quite a beautiful place to be. Someone else may find that they want to be younger. It's all up to you. Find your sweet space, find your happy place, and know that if you can envision it and it feels really, 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 really good to you, that's the best place to start. Just imagine, because there isn't anything that we cannot achieve and that we are not capable of. It's all part of what is being offered to us for the service that we are providing and have done. We are the first in line. We are the ones that have done the work. We've done the time. We've put in the effort. Our faith has held us in this beautiful place of showing up when others couldn't. Really trust that you have earned this blessing that is coming. It's not something that, you know, you just kind of been pushed into the front of the line, or you're bypassing what other people are going to go through. Everyone will have this experience offered to them. Not everyone will take it. And not everyone needs it, to be quite honest. We're not meant to be superheroes. We're meant to be simple people in a balanced state of awareness with a beautiful connection to Mother Earth and a strong connection to the creative forces that help us enjoy what we're doing here and each other. To me, that's the gift that is available. And the rest of that controversy, that conflict, that destructive nature that we hold inside, that's what's passing away. That's what's no longer needed. And I know I have talked before a couple of times about working with the rage that we hold within. You will not be able to get yourself into a harmonized state to do the medbed experience without releasing the rage cork, I call it. It was a part of who we are that enabled us to thrive and survive. You know, it was the old eat or be eaten. So that in our human experience needs to pass away. It needs to be given a respectful farewell. But in order to do that, there is a process that you go through to allow it to move through and to be released. So there are things that we still have to do in order to enhance the process. And if what you're doing and how you're feeling is in alignment with that, that's a good thing. Every day is a good day. And the best thing I can say to you right now is, if you wake up in the morning grateful and thankful for another day, my next statement is, I trust everything's working. Everything is working, no matter what happens in the day, no matter how it presents itself, no matter how I experience it. It's helping me move forward, whether it's through challenges, whether it's through technical difficulties. We know there's been a bunch of that going on. It really doesn't matter how the test and challenge comes. The only thing that truly matters is how we react to it. Do we react or do we respond? Big difference in the energy. If you get to the place where you can simply respond, you know you got your shit together and it's in a good place. If you're in a reactive state or the reactor will always rock your world and shake your inner state of being to a place where you feel uncomfortable and you feel unhappy. Bless it and call it good. If that's in there, bring it out. Let's have a look at it. Let's bless it and see what it really is all about. So yeah, we will not.
Jamie has a question.
Jamie, go ahead. For Helen?
Either or. Actually kind of one for Helen and maybe one for you as well. So, and Helen, I feel like you might know this. So I have orbs that fly around in my house and I catch them on camera all the time. Is that because, I watch the like dead files and stuff like that. Is that like people not able to transport their consciousness, or
They're
I
saying
feel
hello.
confused.
It's just your loved ones saying hello.
Okay. Because I'm
Because
they're around
because
all the
they
time.
become beings of light, right? So we're beings of light. We are made of light. They're of light energy. And so
Yes.
some cameras can catch them. Where you will see them the most is in celebrations, weddings, a kid's concert, because the frequency, the vibration is so high, right? That they can make themselves known. Again, a lot of depends on certain cameras as well. If you watch a baby who's sleeping in a crib and there's a baby's monitor, what's that? Baby's monitor, you'll notice that, it's usually the grandparents or a loved one that's protecting them and overseeing them. And they want you to see that. You as a parent, they want you to know that they're looked after, but, or it could be spirit guides as well.
Yeah, I've had a ton of activity lately, and I don't know if this has anything to do anything, but I started reading the book by Joe Dispenza called Becoming Supernatural.
Yep.
And it's really bizarre how everything that we've been talking about on these meetings, and he's talking about, and exactly what we're talking about today, you have to uncondition yourself from the way that you've been thinking before. So like before we go into the med beds, you have to deprogram what you've been programming yourself for years or lifetimes, whatever the case may be. So the other thing I'm having a really hard time is locking my brain down and not thinking. Like it's like, Donna, what we were talking about that one day where I felt like I was going to spontaneously combust. Like sometimes I feel like shit's just rattling around and I cannot grasp quietness.
Are the orbs,
okay.
Are the orbs clear white or are they colored?
Okay, so I snapshotted them and they're magnificent colors. It's in the center, it's white, and then it goes out to violet. But when you see them on the camera, I had one shooting like all over, the fastest one I've ever seen. Usually they just kind of float around and they're just circles.
So for the most part, the center is white.
Yes.
Okay, that is spirit playing with your thoughts. When they're
Okay.
colored, they're playing with your emotions. So when you say your mind is all over the place, the orbs will be responding to that on the frequency of information
Interesting.
and intuition impression. Whereas when the colors come, they'll be saying, we're here to help you process some of that emotion that needs to move.
Mm-hmm.
And the energy that you are seeing in the orbs is actually you.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
It's the energy that is connecting you to the frequency field so that you get to see the reflections of you. And when thoughts are needing to be expressed, or think of it as a camera. When
Shutters.
you open the shutter and there's
Mhm.
more light, you will see more. And if what you see is uncomfortable and you don't want to see it, you shut or you close the shutter and you don't see it anymore. So it is a projection that is coming from you, but it is still being supported by the energy and the essence of those who work with you. They're just helping you see what you're doing. You're starting to manifest.
So, right. So after Sky's webinar on Saturday, my mind is quite literally blown
Yeah.
in a very big way. So it's been, I'm not going to say it's been emotional. I'm actually peaceful about it, but I feel like my world's been flipped upside down.
But that's
learning
your
about all this
mind.
stuff.
That's your mind and your projector.
Is my
Here.
pine cone opening?
Yes, that's your projector saying there's so much more than you have allowed yourself to see. Let
Right.
us give you a clear vision of it. It's like, whoo, that's what it looks like. And it's being able to feel okay with it, be at peace with it, play with
Yeah.
it. Spirit right now, if you want to know the truth and you want to really interact with spirit right now, ask them to play. Ask them to play with, show you things playfully. The birds showing up, butterflies showing up, dragonflies, little things happening that are childlike, because we're really being tested to shift our childish ways, which is our lower frequency humanness, to become more childlike. And childlike is the essence of creation. That's the inner child. Call it the God force, call it source, call it whatever you want to call it. But we are being challenged to start laughing at ourselves, seeing ourselves with a lighter heart, opening our eyes to the possibilities. And when the possibilities are shifting and changing, recognize that that's a good thing. It doesn't mean we're not getting it. It doesn't mean we have to change the way we do things. It just is an encouragement to expand as much as you will allow in any given moment. To really, heaven on earth is not a dark, dreary place. Heaven on earth is a celebration every day and every moment and every breath. There's a beautiful flash right there.
So Donna,
Okay.
two things. For Jamie, when she talks about having thoughts all over the place, there's the candle exercise that you could do.
What's that?
If you can do it for like 30 minutes, Donna knows what I'm talking about. So it's gazing at a candle, but making sure you don't go into a hypnotic state. Thoughts come in, acknowledge them, send them off, but it's just gazing at the candle for 33 minutes, up to 33 minutes. Start off maybe 5, 15, work your way up to 33 minutes, and just try to come to a place of stillness. If you're having a hard time, perhaps maybe just come with a mantra, like just think, stillness, peace, love, whatever that is. So that's that for the candle exercise. Again, just to come to a place of stillness and just being more aware of your thoughts, but trying to come to that place of stillness. Also, what's probably going on, Donna, is we keep mentioning Sky's name, but not everybody know who she is. So would you like to share with the group who Sky is?
Okay. Yes, Sky Prince, kindred spirit, I would say very much. She is an off-worlder, or let's say a human that has interacted with off-worlders her entire life. She has been a part of the space program where the med beds are being used and utilized. She has been a part of actually facilitating people being on the bed, and she has also been a participant of having a med bed experience. So she comes with great wisdom of both sides of the process and the experience. She works very closely with bringing the secret space program to the awareness of humanity. So it's no longer hidden. It's no longer something that they don't talk about. It is something that they are going to continue to share with us, although they have fully disclosed right now that if anybody is a Star Trek fan or, deep space programs that you have watched years gone by, that those are actually documentaries. What they were feeding us was the possibility. What they were helping us see is that this is already in action. These things are already happening. And being able to be a part of that is, it's pretty exceptional. So, okay.
You can follow her on Facebook. Actually, we have a couple of links on the group page.
Yeah.
With Sky's Prince's name on it. So you can always click on there.
Yeah, she's very real and raw. Like she holds nothing
Very.
back. She hides nothing.
Nothing,
It's
yeah.
like, you know what, life is what it is. It's as much as we put into it, we get back out of it. The more complicated we make it, the more foolish we look. But hey, your version, your day, go ahead. And yeah, I quite enjoy her realness, because she kind of flips between, I'm here in service to humanity and I'm really committed to the whole process. And then she'll flip to, I'm tired of this bullshit and people not getting it. And I don't want to have to stand here and do this any longer than I have to. So can people just get it and go away? The full spectrum of what we do inside and how we say and think things. She just doesn't have a filter. That's the best way I can put it. No filter, none. It's coming out. So, okay, Daniel, you had a question.
I do have to
Yes.
say about the experiencing Sky. I found the videos to try and tap in to begin with, not knowing who she was
Yes.
very difficult for me. I found going to the questions and answers,
Yeah.
reading through the 65 pages, well worth your time.
Yeah, she gets much more specific and a little less flippant about answers. Okay, sorry, Daniel, what was your question?
I have a question about the med beds, not so much about the med beds themselves, which is still kind of airy-fairy. I haven't really met anyone who's been in one. But my question is about our own intentions and manifestations. Cannot they produce exactly the same results as a med beds would?
Yes, they can. In our purely advanced state, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm talking a generation from now, that will be considered normal.
Okay.
It's just right now, as we are still 1 foot in the matrix and 1 foot out, the med beds are helping us disconnect all of the effects and the lower frequencies of the med bed or the matrix, so that when you're finished with the med bed, you will be disconnected from the old matrix. It's no longer something that has the ability or the capacity to drag you down in any way or affect your health and well-being.
Thank
It's
you.
like we get our wings. Okay, well, we're coming close to the end. We have time for one more question. Is there someone who's one more? No? Everybody's well fed and happy? Okay, Helen, thank you so much for jumping in and sharing that. I do trust that this is going to be part of some of the ways that you will help community going forward. And it's just getting people used to the different ways that we have access to in order to facilitate healing and achieving a state of grace and balance. We're all here for each other. We're here to help each other, encourage each other. And if there's any time or any point that someone is in a place where they need just a little bit of hope or encouragement, we're here. So please reach out and please let us know that even if it's just a brief moment or reaching out a hand or just listening, that can make all the difference in you doing a breakthrough that comes from within your own heart. We're not here to fix you. You're the one that is in charge of that process and that blessing that is available in each and every moment. But we are here to let you know you're not alone in it. So that's the most important part right now. So many of us have spent most of our lifetime very much alone in this process and in this journey. Well, you're not alone anymore. We are very much a highly evolved and frequency filled circle of light that is just moving higher and higher, quicker and quicker. So thanks for being a part of it. So let's just do a little closing prayer in honor of the time that we have been able to share together. And we just ask that the source of creation and the light of all that is holy and divine would surround us and fill us and flow through us each and every day in each and every way. We just ask that what is within each of us that is still in need of revelation or a place where we need to heal, just make it close to our heart and our awareness so that we can embrace it and work with it. Our willingness to evolve and to change and to bring forward this tremendous shift that's happening on our planet, it comes purely from our hearts and from our desire to see this world in a heavenly state. We bring forward the blessing to Mother Nature and just ask that the restoration that is taking place right now would continue, and that evolution of the relationship between man and nature would continually come closer to closer, being in oneness with each other, so that nature knows our hearts and our desires, and we know nature in the way that it is the most beautiful of all, and that is a place for us to feel safe, secure, loved, and cherished. And so it is. Yes, blessings, everyone. Okay, so what I am being guided to do, and I know a couple of you participated in it, but I feel that it is incredibly important. Next week's session is going to be involved with releasing the death codes. So that is something that was channeled through about a month ago, and a few have gone through it, and the changes and the effects that it has had are incredibly important to where everyone is. And having discussed today the grief and loss and the death of old self, there's a lot of what the matrix is involved with in the programming and the information that is inside of us still, that is active. So by releasing those death codes, you can rise higher, easier, with less effort and stress and struggle. And it's my honor to be able to share those with you. So that is what next week's going to be about. Okay, so once again, thank you, Helen, for the role that you played. And we'll see who else we can get to jump in here and share and get to know. My admin team are pretty incredible people, and the roles that they play and the gifts that they bring to the table are pretty profound. So respect to all, and to those who showed up, thank you very much. You take care, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Donna. Thanks, Helen.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Donna. Bye,
Thank you. What a
everyone.
glorious-
Thank you, Helen.
glorious summer solstice to everyone.
Exactly.
Good night.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Donna.
Take
This is
care.
my dog's first Zoom class.
Aw. Cute little face. Yeah.
Hi. Say bye-bye.
Love you all very much.
Thank you. Nice to have you with us, Ruth.
Donna, I have a quick question for you.
Mhm.
So I think the majority of all of you are in Canada, right?
Yes,
And I'm not. I'm in Ohio.
not so far away.
When this, not too far, but when this comes out, how do I facilitate things like I want to do an animal sanctuary and then med beds for obviously humans as well. How do I go about that?
Jamie, send me your plan, and I will include it in my presentation when I go to the humanitarian funding as part of our group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So-
I've already printed everything out and everything. I've
Okay.
had this, I've been in this for over a decade.
Yeah, I hear you. And actually, part of what we're doing here is going to be similar to that. So we may need your expertise to help us
Okay.
hear what you will be building there. So, yeah.
Yeah,
please
and
share.
my parents and my sister are in Colorado and they have their separate plans as well. So it's like, we were all gonna operate under like one umbrella, but
Yeah.
we already have our foundation set up.
Excellent.
So
Yeah.
I'll send that over to you this evening.
Okay, and I will incorporate it into the plan so that you are included in the blueprint.
Okay.
If you manage to get something set up in the US that's under your own umbrella, that's fine too.
Okay.
They have shown us that it is not just about one concept, it's about taking concepts that work to various communities and sharing it as much as we can. There's no ownership of any of this. This is God's work.
Yeah, I'm so eager to, it's like, I feel like my life's been on hold for a decade because I've been waiting for this moment. And it's like, I've been in limbo for 13 years.
Yeah, me
And
too.
I'm ready. I'm like, no, I'm past ready. I'm well done.
So it's time for you to start calling in the people that you can trust to work with the concept. It may not be that they're boots on the ground right now, but you do need to call them in. And
Right.
if you want to facilitate a meeting, I would be more than happy to sit in on it with you to share the concept and how it works. Being able to share with them the idea of one small town will definitely open them up to the concept even further. So
Okay.
yeah, so you
Okay.
work
Well,
that
I'll
together.
just
and
ask
let
for
me
your
know.
guidance on that then.
More than happy to share.
I'll send you my ideas and then you just tell me what to do after that.
I won't tell you what to do. I will share with you what you already know in here is meant to happen.
That's perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You guys have a great night. Thank you.
You too. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Okay. All right, everyone. I'm going to close the meeting now. So we will graciously leave you and talk to you next week. Take care.